On London's ice-cold street, when a homeless man approached Kate Middleton and asked, "Can you give me £1?" Kate's response shocked not only that man, but all of England, because that man was actually a veteran who had fought for his country. It was one of the coldest days of December. The temperature in London had dropped below zero, and the streets were covered with a white layer of snow. It was 7 p.m., and Bond Street in the city center was filled with people doing holiday shopping. Kate Middleton was coming out of a special event that day. Despite having security guards with her, she preferred to walk modestly. She was trying to protect herself from the cold with her long black coat, a beanie on her head, and gloves on her hands. As she passed between luxury stores, the cheerful conversations of people and the lights of warm cafes created a contrast. Everyone was hurrying to return home, but something else caught Kate's attention. At the corner of a store, there was a man sitting on pieces of cardboard, shivering and trying to warm himself. He was in his 50s, with disheveled hair, a grown beard, wearing a torn military jacket, struggling with the cold. Kate's heart ached. Being outside in this cold was a struggle for survival. The man, James Morrison, was a 52-year-old former British soldier. He was a veteran who had served 2 tours in Afghanistan, fought for his country, and lost his friends. But now he was here, on the street, living forgotten. James had noticed Kate from afar. He could tell she was someone famous, but couldn't quite figure out who she was. James, who had been hungry for days, was about to lose his last hope. As Kate approached, James desperately stood up. His hand was trembling, not just from the cold, but also from shame. A man who had once proudly fought for his country now had to ask for help. "Excuse me," said James, with great hesitation in his voice. "Madam, I'm very sorry, but—" Kate stopped and turned to James. There was compassion in her eyes, no judgmental look. "Yes?" said Kate kindly. James swallowed. This was so difficult. Could you give me £1? Just for a hot soup," he managed to say. When Kate looked at James, she saw not only hunger and cold in his eyes, but also deep shame. This man was ashamed of asking for help. "Of course," said Kate, reaching for her bag. "But just £1? You need a hot meal in this cold." James was surprised. Most people either ignored him or threw a small coin and passed by. But this woman was different. Kate took out £20 from her wallet and handed it to James. "This would be better?" James's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you so much, madam. You're really very kind. I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to pay me back," said Kate. "But wait a minute. You're very cold. Being outside in this cold is dangerous." Kate looked around. There was a warm cafe nearby. "Come, let me buy you a hot soup." James couldn't believe it. "No, madam, I can't go in there like this. My appearance ... "Nonsense," said Kate determinedly. "Everyone needs warmth." Kate took James to the nearby small cafe. The people in the cafe were looking at them, but Kate didn't care. She seated James at a warm table and asked the waiter for hot soup, bread, and tea. "What's your name?" asked Kate. James Morrison," said the man, still in shock. "I'm Catherine," said Kate, not giving her full name. James, how long have you been living here?" James bowed his head. "About 8 months. First I was staying at my friend's house, then in shelters, but—" "Don't you have family?" asked Kate. My wife left 2 years ago. My children went with her too. She said I had changed. I changed after the war." Kate's heart ached. "War? Were you a soldier?" James raised his head proudly. "Yes, madam. British Army. I served 2 tours in Afghanistan, 2018 and 2020. "2 tours?" Kate was surprised. "That must have been very dangerous and exhausting." "It was. I lost many friends there. I returned wounded, but I returned alive. They couldn't return." When the hot soup arrived, James's hands were still trembling. Kate continued listening to his story. "What happened after you returned from Afghanistan?" James took a long breath. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I couldn't sleep at night. Nightmares, sudden fits of anger. My wife couldn't cope. Did you receive treatment? I did, but it wasn't enough. Government aid was also cut off. I couldn't find a job because employers don't want to hire former soldiers with PTSD. They see them as a risk. A deep sadness appeared on Kate's face. This is terrible. You fought for your country, you were wounded, and now they don't take care of you. That's right, madam. I'm not mentally ill. I just carry the traces of war. But nobody understands this. James showed an old photograph he took out of his pocket. This is my team. We were 12 people. Now only 4 of us are alive. Kate looked at the photograph. Young, proud soldiers were smiling. They are heroes, said Kate. And you are a hero too. James's eyes filled with tears. Nobody says this anymore. Everyone sees us as a burden. While Kate listened to James's story, she thought about her own privileged life. This man had fought for freedom, but now he couldn't even meet his basic needs. James, excuse me, but I need to ask. Have you ever contacted your family? James shook his head. My children want to see me, but my wife doesn't allow it. She says, you'll scare them. She acts as if I'm some kind of monster. How many children do you have? 2. Emma is 12 years old. Tom is 9 years old. I miss them so much. Kate's eyes filled with tears. She thought of her own children, George, Charlotte, Louis. She couldn't even imagine living without them. James, I'm going to tell you something, but don't be surprised. I'm Catherine, Kate Middleton. The spoon fell from James's hand. What? Are you the Princess of Wales? Yes, said Kate, smiling, and your story has deeply affected me. James tried to stand up. Your Majesty, I didn't know. I'm sorry. Sit down, James, said Kate gently. I'm still Catherine, and you're still Hero James. James was still in shock. Princess, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to thank me. I should thank you for what you did for my country. Kate spoke thoughtfully. James, I want to make you an offer. But first tell me this. Would you like to return to a normal life? Of course I would, Princess. But how? Nobody gives me a job. My wife doesn't want me. What if I could provide you with a job, a home, and the opportunity to see your children? James's eyes widened. Is this possible? It's possible for me, said Kate, but I have one condition. I'll do anything, Princess. You need to continue treatment. PTSD is a treatable condition. With the right help, you can be stronger than before. James began to cry. I don't deserve this. Of course you deserve it, said Kate determinedly. You fought for my children to grow up freely. I will fight for you to reunite with your children. The next day, Kate called her personal assistant. Sarah, we have an urgent task. It's about a veteran named James Morrison. How can I help, Your Majesty? First, arrange temporary accommodation for him. Then find a private PTSD therapist, the best one. Also, you need to find an employer who can hire him, someone who shows understanding to veterans. Of course, Your Majesty. Anything else? Yes. Arrange a meeting with his wife. I'm going to try to convince her about him seeing his children. While Kate was making this decision, James was still sitting in that cafe. Yesterday, she had spoken with the cafe owner and gotten permission for James to spend time in the cafe today. James still couldn't believe what had happened. He had spoken with the princess, and she was going to help him. A week later, James woke up in a clean, warm apartment in South London. This apartment, provided by a charity, was temporary but comfortable. When the door knocked, he saw Kate. Next to her was a therapist, Dr. Sarah Williams. Hello, James, said Kate. I want to introduce you to Dr. Williams. She's one of the best experts on PTSD in England. Dr. Williams shook hands with James. James, I'm here to work with you. Our goal is not just for you to recover, but to become stronger. Will this really work, Doctor? James, I've worked with hundreds of veterans so far. PTSD can be beaten. You fought as a hero, now you'll fight for yourself. Kate added, Also, I have good news for you. You have a job interview at a security company. The owner is also a former soldier. He prefers to hire veterans. James's eyes filled with tears. Princess, how will I repay my debt to you? I have no debt, James. Just get better and be happy. That's enough for me. 2 months later, James had made great progress in treatment. He had started working and had achieved a regular life. Most importantly, his self-confidence had returned. Kate had met with James's wife, Sarah. Sarah, who was initially suspicious, softened when she saw Kate's sincerity. Sarah, Kate had said, James has changed. He's received treatment. He's better now. The children need to see their father. But what if he scares them? Then I'll be there too. You'll see what a good person James is. When the meeting day came, James was very excited. He was going to meet his children in the park, whom he hadn't seen for 8 months. Kate was also there for support. When Emma and Tom saw their father, they ran to him. Dad! They shouted and hugged him. James was crying. I missed you so much. I'm so sorry. Why did you leave, Dad? Asked little Tom. I was sick, son, but I'm fine now, and I'll never leave again. As Kate watched this moment, she understood how valuable what she had done was. When James's story was reflected in the media, all of England was talking about it. How Kate had helped a veteran, how she had changed his life, was on everyone's lips. The hashtag number Kate and James became trending on social media. People began sharing their own veteran stories. A Twitter user wrote, Kate Middleton is a real princess. She saved that man's life. Another added, all politicians should learn from Kate. We must take care of our veterans. When James appeared on television and told his story, many veterans were inspired by him. Helplines started ringing. Princess Catherine didn't just give me money, James had said. She gave me back my dignity. She made me feel human again. 3 months later, Kate organized a special invitation, an event for veteran families at Kensington Palace. James came with his wife and children. He now had a regular job, a home, and most importantly, his family. Kate gave a speech at the event. These people are our country's heroes. We owe them. We must stand by them not only in times of war, but also in times of peace. James approached Kate. Princess, that night I had asked you for £1, but you gave me back my life. Kate smiled. James, you were already strong. I just reminded you of that. If it weren't for you, we wouldn't be able to speak freely here today. You are the real hero. Kate's experience didn't just change James's life. The perspective on veterans changed throughout England. The government increased veteran aid programs. Private companies began giving job priority to veterans. Donations to PTSD treatment centers multiplied. James established his own veteran aid organization. The James Morrison Veterans Support Foundation was helping veterans living on the streets. Every veteran has a story, James would say. We must give them a chance. Kate became the honorary president of this foundation. She regularly met with veterans, listening to their problems. On the last day of the year, James was at home with his family. While the events of the year were being told on television, his own story was also mentioned. Dad, you became famous, said Emma. No, dear, said James. I was just lucky. I met an angel like Princess Catherine. Sarah squeezed her husband's hand. You didn't change, James. You were always a hero. We just couldn't see it. James thought about that cold winter night. If he hadn't approached Kate, he might still be on the street now. Or maybe he wouldn't even be alive. Kate Middleton hadn't just given James money that night. She had given him hope, dignity, and a new life. James's story showed that sometimes small gestures can create big changes. Asking for £1 had been the beginning of a life-changing encounter. This story also reminded society of its responsibility toward veterans. These people had fought for freedom. Taking care of them in peacetime was everyone's duty. What Kate did that night was true royal behavior. She had shown that not those who have crowns, but those who have hearts are truly noble. James Morrison was no longer living on the street, but in his home. He was with his children, had a job, was receiving treatment. But most importantly, he had regained his self-respect. And every night before going to sleep, he prayed for the woman he had courageously approached on that cold winter night. Because Kate Middleton hadn't just given him £1, she had given him back his life. This story showed that true humanity is much more valuable than material worth, and sometimes in the darkest moments, hope can come from the most unexpected place. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button so you don't miss inspiring stories like this.